My name is Mercia Dukugo Amina. I manage the team at Fiduciary Services Limited, and it's a pleasure to have everyone join us today as we discuss the trends and dynamics that are shaping the lives and legacies of affluent and high net worth individuals. We have a power-packed team of speakers that are going to dissect most of the issues with respect to the trends and dynamics. And we look forward to an engaging conversation with them. We trust that you would also be able to benefit from their wealth of knowledge and experience, and that at the end of the day, we would be able to understand what the issues are around salient issues that affect families, that affect affluent and also affect their wealth as well. So to quickly get us started, this is to welcome Tsitsi. Tsitsi is the president of PSASA and the co-founder of African Family Firm. If you know Tsitsi, she is a member of the family, of our family here at Fiduciary Services Limited. Yeah, she's one of our wonderful resource persons, and we are always happy to have her with us. Tsitsi is a well-versed, award-winning businesswoman with over 14 years of experience building her own successful businesses. She's recognized globally for her business acumen and world-class delivery. She has various board appointments in numerous industries, and she's exposed in many global business development strategies, especially in Africa. What I would say is that if you're looking for a world advisor within the African space that is multi-jurisdictional within the African space, you want to get in touch with Tsitsi. She is that resource person that you know. So Tsitsi is a global resource who has featured in many platforms, including Athena 40, Forbes Africa, Billionaire Africa, Arise Africa, and many more. She hosts her own podcast, and she's been listed in one of the top 10 podcasts of families of wealth and their advisors. Tsitsi, thank you so much for making yourself available to join us in our panel today. I'll get started. Tsitsi, please just let us know within the space of philanthropy in Africa, what are the trends and dynamics that we are seeing right now, that we are experiencing right now?
Hi, Mercy. Thank you for having me this afternoon, and thank you to all my co-panelists. So when we're looking at Africa right now, we are looking at it from two different dimensions when it comes to wealth and philanthropy. The first dimension is obviously the ultra high net worth individuals who we have seen becoming more prominent in terms of their giving during the COVID pandemic time. We saw a lot of their giving strategies being towards helping those areas that were direly in need in terms of resources to be able to sustain themselves during the COVID pandemic. You found some of the family offices also then investing and giving towards philanthropy in the space of helping up the smaller businesses and MMEs to be able to be sustainable as well, to be able to continue to run their businesses. So with the ultra high net worth, we've seen more and more of family offices that weren't visible prior to the COVID pandemic become more visible, as well as become more vocal in towards their giving on the continent, as well as into the areas that they have been giving. And ultimately, they're giving more so to areas that need immediate relief, as well as to those areas that are personally applicable to them. As we all know, philanthropy really much depends on what is the family or the foundation really interested in, what are the areas that are of interest. Personally, it might be from personal experience and could also be something that has affected them during their lifetime, or they've seen affect other people that they want to rectify and give towards. Then you found there's another group of wealthy families that is coming up from the high net worth. So that is your upwardly mobile middle class coming into high net worth, and slowly hoping to see them in the ultra high net worth bracket. They have continuously given. They have continuously given across a broad spectrum of philanthropy. It's just that they're not as reported and spotlighted on as we see the ultra high net worth, because obviously they sometimes don't have foundations and are not giving the big figures. And as we all know, media tends to gravitate towards the big figures. But that demographic has continuously it's continuously invested in philanthropy, especially in the education space, in the health space, as well as in crisis. So when you do have crisis, you see that they start giving through crowdfunding, and also there's now setting up of foundations. So there's that sensitization for continuity to be there in terms of their giving, setting up formal structures is something that is important. And I think that's pivotal, especially on the African continent, because it allows us slowly to be able to document what this philanthropy looks like, where it's coming from, and how it is impacting the continent as we know it. And as we've seen, there's been a shift in conversation on what is actual impact when it comes to giving and philanthropy. And impact is looking at the long-term results of that giving, and more of across the board, from the ultra high net worth to the high net worth and to the upwardly mobile middle class. You're seeing that need to be able to align with impactful giving that goes just beyond the immediate need, but also goes towards the future of the continent and the future of philanthropy.
Yeah, thank you so much. I mean, you touched on quite a number of things here. I mean, the what we experienced during the COVID, post-COVID, and the fact that we're having a lot more people that are giving within the continent, and what they are addressing within the continent, health issues and other fundamental human issues, and all, as well as coming to the fore when you have crisis. And the issue of impact is very, very important. I don't think that I'm sure that years back, impact wasn't such a big deal, until there is a need to say, what I'm giving, what difference is it making? And that's where impact comes in. So thank you so much for touching on that. Tsitsi, we are going to turn to you now. Talk to us about the rising generation and philanthropy. How do they view it? And is it of interest? Is it something that if the patriarch or the matriarch are not actively pursuing and trying to get them to do? Is it something that you've seen that the rising generation are actually picking up on their own and using that as a voice for change in their communities?
Thank you for that question, Mercy. So with the rising generation, without using a blanket statement, because obviously you have different demographics, different interests, and different cultural inclinations across the board on the continent, and the African continent is vast. But what we have seen, especially taking from the conversation that happened before around governance, philanthropy has become the cornerstone to building good family governance, because it's a space where the current generation can engage the rising generation, and the rising generation can engage the current generation, and get to truly understand the issues that matter to each sides of the conversation. So when you're embarking on your governance structures, you obviously have to focus on shared history, shared values, and shared vision for the future. And with most families, there's a reluctance to speak on governance because it seems very complex. But when you engage it from a philanthropic point of view, you are looking at the work that's already being done by the current generation, or the work that the rising generation is interested in engaging in terms of philanthropy, and having to set up some sort of structural way of giving that money in a responsible way, in a way that's transformational, and in a way that is impactful and is meaningful to the givers themselves, which is usually the family. And so to get to that point, there has to be that discussion where we sit down and we look at what is influencing our need to give. Why do we want to give? How much do you want to give? Where do we want to give? And what is the long-term foreseeable future of this giving? And I think for current gens, it has become a space where they can truly understand their next gens, because when we look at the business system as the core focus of wealth, we are looking at how succession can be a contentious issue for all generations. But when we're looking at giving, we're looking at how can we collaborate together to be able to make life better for our communities, as well as to be able to create some sort of sustainable change, or to help towards the combating of something that is plaguing our communities and our societies. So it's a moment where everybody in the family looks beyond themselves and their personal needs and looks at the communities around them that the family serves, or that looks up to the family. And in that space, that's when you see there is that ability to engage the next gens. You see there's the ability for the current gens to also see the viewpoint of the next gens. And then ultimately there is that ability to then say, how can we have continuity? And the succession conversation becomes a lot easier. For families that haven't engaged in that process from that viewpoint, you find that the issues are still very much contentious because they're inwardly focused, they're self-focused. And with the next gens, it also gives them the opportunity to prove to the current gens that they are able to handle projects and bring them to fruition. They're able to present on things that truly matter to them, and then take them to a space where they are now able to allocate funds and get those funds to actually become meaningful and impactful going into the future.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Such, such enlightening take on that. I mean, just to understand that in managing even family dynamics, in managing the conflicts you would have with family, you have to be outward looking. So if you are a family that is just self-focused and all that, definitely you would have those dynamics and conflict as part of your day-to-day. But when you harness the collective power you have and become outward focused, trying to give back to your community, trying to articulate how you want to impact your community and create lasting impact in the lives of people, then that gives you the room for you to build better forward as a family. So very, 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 very instructive. Thank you for that, Tsitsi. How do we measure effectiveness of the given? And is it necessary? Is it something that we should be actively pursuing? I know Nancy had mentioned the fact that because of this issue, a lot of the rising gen want to be involved. They want to set up their own structures because that gives them control. But if you use like the donor advised fund structure, and you're not actively managing your donations, but you're relying on others, should you be concerned about impact? Should you be concerned about the effectiveness of your giving? And is there any reason for you to want to be interested in it?
I think ultimately when it comes to giving, if it is true giving and true philanthropy, which is outside trying just to get tax breaks and advantages that will help us financially, and it's an outward search to help the communities that we serve, we have to look at how families of wealth have gained their wealth. And it's mostly through support of their businesses in the communities that their businesses are set up in, or the countries that their businesses are set up in, where they operate. Sometimes it's people that are known to them. Sometimes their businesses have grown to a global stratosphere, and they serve so many communities. And when they started their businesses, ultimately it was to serve a problem for profit. And they have managed to get excess profit. And in some way, there's that urge and the need to give. And giving in itself is when people engage in philanthropy, we'd like to believe that they are engaging in specific areas that mean something to them. So ultimately, it will always lead back to governance, where what is our shared history? If you have a shared history of maybe the founder of the business, it could be the grandfather, it could be the father, it could be the mother, the grandmother, used to walk vast distances to be able to go to school, to get an education. And if it wasn't for their tenacity and maybe an opportunity, a relative paid for school fees or something along their story, their struggle allowed them to be able to succeed and then ultimately form the business that has ultimately formed the wealth. Or sometimes it could be a near and dear family member has got an ailment or passes because of an ailment. It could be a cancer, it could be the community that a member of the family has grown up in, has got certain aspects of it that are causing the next gen in that community to not be able to succeed. There's so many areas in which giving is applied to in our daily basis. And that way we see donors giving funds, foundations giving funds, individuals giving funds. And that's what we call philanthropy. Being able to gauge whether it's successful or not is a responsibility that I think next gens and even current gens are very interested in. In the past, we've seen the backlash of what happens when philanthropy is given because of guilt. And I think one of the reasons why we've had issues with philanthropy, especially in continents like Africa, is that philanthropy initially, when it was engaged in Africa, was to soothe guilt. Whereas we wanted to soothe guilt of colonialism, we're trying to soothe guilt of slavery, we're trying to soothe guilt of extraction. So let's throw as much money as possible there to help in the areas that might be able to uplift the continent. And there was no thinking of impact or long-term. And this philanthropic fund started getting abused. Then we started seeing donors getting tired. They no longer wanted to give because they felt, well, I'm giving, but I'm not seeing where this money is going. That's where the whole impact conversation started, because that conversation started around what is really happening to the funds that are going. Where is this money going? Is it making a change? And ultimately, when families have worked hard for this wealth and they're saying that they're giving, they want to see that there is some sort of result to this giving. They're not going to throw money away. They're not going to just give because they have excess money. And I think ultimately that reasoning where people think that there is excess money is bad judgment on any part, because yes, they've managed to make more than would make them comfortable to live a comfortable life. However, they're saying with the excess money, I could do anything else. I can keep on building my businesses. I can invest in something else that makes me more money. But I would like to then address issues in my community, in my society, in issues that are close to my heart, to be able to make a change in a positive way, to create opportunities for others. That's what philanthropy ultimately is. We're trying to solve problems that other people can't solve because they don't have the resources available to them. And ultimately, we want to know, we want to understand where's this money going? What is it being used for? And there has to be accountability. And so if we speak about just giving and no accountability, then it's no longer philanthropy. We're just giving away money and it should get another name. But if we're giving in a way where we want to see change, then that means we're trying to be responsible enough to say, you know what, we've come from these spaces. We know what this looks like. And we've heard what the people in these spaces look like. And we have got the resources available to make a difference. And we want to see what the difference is, because that's ultimately why we're giving.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for that, Nancy. Thank you for that. That's very, very enlightening. Thank you. So it just makes a case for giving and ensuring that there's impact in how we give. And all this giving as a result of tax break, tax benefits, and all that. I think we probably need to look a lot more outward, just like you said, as against it just being an only inward perspective to our giving. Yeah, thank you so much for that. So we're going to go 1 minute each for our rounding comments and anything we want to bring to light. Tsitsi, if you are here, because I know you have to dash out now, you would want to just let us have your closing comments.
Yes, thank you so very much. And thank you once again to all my co-panelists and for Mercy and your team for putting on such a great event. My final comments on philanthropy are that, especially on the African continent, philanthropy is something that we have practiced for many generations in its various forms. And we should continue to encourage our wealthy families to engage in it responsibly, as well as to structure their governance in a way that their philanthropy has continuity, as well as use philanthropy as a bridging gap between the generations, because it's a space where we can collaborate and get to truly know each other. Because when we give from a place of truly caring for others. And through that, we can then increase the communication between ourselves as a family. So by engaging the exterior, we are ultimately building the interior of our families, and it becomes something that the whole of the continent and the communities that we serve through our businesses, as well as through our giving, truly benefit. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much, Tsitsi. Yeah, it's been fantastic having you as usual, as always. Thank you. Yeah, so till next time then, do take care. It's been a delight to have this session. It's been a delight to speak through the trends and dynamics that are shaping the lives and legacies of affluent and high net worth individuals. Over the course of the webinar, we've x-rayed the issues of family dynamics. We've come to understand what they are, and how we could work around with the right advisors to be able to ensure that the issues that would arise, whether with the mental incapacity, diminished capacity, or declining capacity of anyone in the family, can be appropriately taken care of, as well as how we can preserve our digital assets. We've also discussed that as well. And we looked extensively into philanthropy and x-rayed how next gens, rising generations are connecting with philanthropy, African philanthropy, what are the things that drive us, as well as from an Islamic perspective as well, sustainability and philanthropy, and how we can better connect with our community, knowing fully well that we have to start with purpose. We have to articulate our purpose as a family. We have to understand what our wealth is to be used for, and we have to make sure that at the end of the day, the legacies that we are leaving, they are sustainable, and they are the ones that the rising gen will be happy to take into the future, and ensure that at the end of the day, we have multi-generational, thriving, and harmonious families. So it's been a pleasure having everyone here. We look forward to the next edition of our webinars. And on a final note, we say thank you to everyone. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure talking with everyone. So till next time, thank you, everyone, and bye-bye for now.